Well, welcome to our first live session in Module 2. It is 6:30 Central Standard Time, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. I realize there might be some people that might be coming in. Right now, I am the only person online, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. Hopefully, you guys can see the PowerPoint okay. So basically, I wanted to talk about the agenda for tonight, and if you are unable to not be here, as I know most of you guys are pretty busy as far as school coming back into session and stuff. This will be recorded and then posted online on August 14th, which is Wednesday, August 14th. So you guys could get a chance to view the live sessions and see what you have missed. So, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Tonight's agenda will be welcome and introductions, live classroom expectations, important reminders, checking in, field experience reports, planning cycle, observation recording methods, writing learning objectives, the comprehensive lesson plan, and if you guys have any questions and answers, if you are online, you could ask me at that time. Or if you are viewing this recording, you can always reach out to me via email or text message. I usually will not take a call during the day just because I have another job. So, yeah. So, I'm going to continue. So, if you are viewing this recording online, please briefly introduce yourself, your name, the state that you reside in, and the type of program that you are in for explorations, and if travel, if money was no object, where would you travel to? I just want to share a little bit about myself. As most of you guys know, my name is Mike Hager, and I currently reside in Denver, Colorado. I have my master's degree in early childhood education, and I work as an administrator for the Head Start program. And if time and money were no object, I would love to travel to Brazil. My mom is from Brazil, and she talks about how beautiful the country is, especially the beaches there, which are gorgeous. She always tells me so. Now, it looks like Katrina. Hi, Katrina. Welcome. Can you hear me okay? Can you see the PowerPoint okay? All right, well, Katrina's online. So I'm going to keep continuing on. So if you are viewing this recording online, please introduce yourself, and then make sure that you state who you are, where you reside, the kind of program that you are in, and then if money and time were no object, where would you like to travel? Hi, Katrina, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, can you see the PowerPoint okay?
Yeah, the introduction and briefly introduce yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of introduced myself. We're the only two people, so it might go fast tonight. So
It's okay, and this might be because my work schedule was only switched for today. I normally get off late, so I'm like, I gotta get this one because I'll probably never have opportunities.
okay, just introduce yourself, Katrina, where you reside, and if money were no object, where would you like to travel?
Well, my name is Katrina Jackson. I live in Chicago, Illinois. I work at a daycare facility called Mighty's Bumblebee Academy. My favorite place to travel will be probably, I went to Disney this year, and I enjoyed it. So if no, wait, if money and time was no object, though. I think that was, let me see. I think I would still say Disney.
Yeah. Did you go to Disney World or just Disneyland?
World.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went to Disneyland. I haven't been to Disney World. I hear Disney World is better than Disneyland, so.
Yeah, I took my 5-year-old son, and he just complained the whole time. So.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it.
Well, good. At least somebody enjoyed it out of your family. So yeah, if you are viewing this online, please make sure to rate this in paragraph form. I'm going to keep continuing on, Katrina, because we have a lot to cover. So live classroom session expectations, this course will have 2 of them that I will lead to expand on the current module topics. These sessions are offered in Module 2 and Module 5. The next live session will be Tuesday, September 3rd at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. And basically just the point of the live classroom session is to engage with your peers and myself in conversation about the course content to further your learning. Interactive classroom sessions encourage open dialogue and questions are encouraged. And if you cannot attend the live session, the video will be posted the next day, like I said earlier. So, and then you can complete the live session quiz to answer the questions that I asked in the class during the presentation in order to receive full credit. Katrina, can you do me a huge favor?
Yes.
Can you mute your microphone? Because it just cuts down, and then you can unmute it at any time when I ask anything. It just cuts down on the background noise.
Okay, no problem. I'm going to do it now.
Thank you. Important dates and reminders. Please make sure to look closely at the calendar for due dates. I don't want to deduct any points for late assignments, but the college policy is a 10% deduction for each day that an assignment is late. This does apply to discussion posts as well. Assignments are due on 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time every Sunday. Remember that initial discussion posts are due every Tuesday at 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. And then your discussions to peers or myself are due on Saturday at 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. For full credit in the discussions, please respond to at least one peer, as well as any questions I may ask you. You are encouraged to respond to more than one peer if you'd like to expand your learning, and just make sure basically to also refer to the calendar for Module 6 assignments and discussions, as they are a little bit different. Everything is due by the last day of class, which is Saturday, September 14th. Very big important reminder that no late work will be accepted after this date for any reason. So try to be proactive, get your stuff done on time. Week 5 is a big week. Week 6 is not a very big week, so just having that in mind. So plan your time accordingly to make sure that you meet those deadlines. And if you do have any problems or any questions, feel free to reach out to me, okay? I'm very flexible, and I'm willing for you guys to succeed in this class. So let me know if you need anything. So checking in, how are things going? Did you guys have any takeaways for week 1? Are you guys able to navigate through the course modules, discussions, course messages, weekly announcements, resource tab? Have you guys had a chance to do your field experience observations? And Are there any barriers preventing you from completing this? If there are barriers preventing you from completing this, please reach out to me as soon as possible so we could work together on finding a solution to your barrier. How's it going so far, Katrina?
It's going good so far. It's just that I was a little behind because my laptop, for some reason, and it was doing it again today. It was just moving very slow. Things weren't downloading. But at work, I try to get as much as I can done on my hour break. But soon I should be getting a new laptop. So I go to libraries and things like that. But today, no, even last night, my field experience, it's like I keep filling the form out, and every time I save it and try to download it to the it comes up blank. So I think I had to download something called Adobe. It's like Grid,
Adobe.
and then
Adobe.
And then save it from there, and then go back and fill it out. So Adobe is actually it's actually downloading right now. It's going pretty slow, but as soon as that gets done, I'm gonna try to do it again. But I have so many blank forms of the field experience that I saved, but I keep filling them out, and nothing's coming up, you know, as I'm putting it in.
Well, just make sure to download that, and if you are coming in through more problems, just reaching out to me. Like I said, I am flexible, and I'm here to help you succeed, and I want to do you know, what it takes for you guys to succeed and get those hours in. So if you are having computer issues, please let me know right away. So anything else?
No, but that's it. I'm fixing everything slowly but surely.
Good. Is this your first time with Rasmussen, Katrina?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Is this your first class too?
No, I started in April.
Okay. So you know a little bit about the Blackboard course and the resources. And...
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Good. All right. Well, thank you for sharing, Katrina. If you are viewing this online, please make sure to answer all these questions too as well to earn your full credit. I'm gonna keep going. And Katrina, since you're online and you're participating, you obviously don't need to do the essay format as everybody else would have to. So participating in the live session will get you full credit. So
Great.
that's the beauty of it. So I'm going to move on with field experience. Yeah, your field experience report. So basically each module's field experience report will prompt you to focus on a key area of practice. Be sure to examine it early in each module to ensure that you know what to focus on your upcoming field experiences. Then at the end of the module, you will report on how many field experience hours you need to complete it, along with a reflection on your experience. An overview of each module's key area of practice can be found on the chart below. Basically, reflection by its very nature is a personal experience, so as such, there is no right or wrong answer. It is basically the habit of reflecting upon your effectiveness as an educator that is most important, and consequently, my feedback may be brief. So in your written responses, please be sure to use complete sentences as well as proper punctuation and grammar. Moving along, I'm going to talk a little bit about the material now and talk about the planning cycle. So basically, in the planning cycle, what we want to do is very first step is to identify the subject. Before you actually could plan curriculum, it's really important to identify for who you're going to plan for, and things that you should consider kind of following reflecting questions as you do choose the subject. You want to ask yourself, what do I know about the child's development progress areas, areas of growth, home life, and interest? That's, really, really important to get that before the child enters the classroom. And then what do I want the child to do or learn as a result of the lesson? So basically, identifying, it's really important to understand this kind of information so you can set attainable outcomes for the child as you develop your lesson plan. So basically, the planning cycle, the very first thing is identifying who you're going to plan for and what you want to accomplish because of it. Getting that information is crucial. The next thing is planning. Now that you've identified the subjects with some background information about the child's development, progress, home life, interests, you can begin the planning. So planning should include aspects as materials needed, step-by-step instructions, transition and support strategies, and even some environmental considerations. Writing out your plan is a good way to see how it will come together. So basically, getting your materials and organizing them and support strategies is how you will plan. And then the implementation of your plan will only be effective if the child is actively engaged with your plan. So great time to lesson plan is during free choice time. During play-based learning is a really good way for early childhood professionals to give opportunities for the children to investigate and discover new skills and understandings. A good time to do it is during their free choice time. They seem more engaged in that than any other time because they are playing. But yeah, so making sure when you do implement your plan, you're doing it when the child is active, because if the child is not interested, it's going to be hard to follow through with your plan. The next thing is to observe. So you want to really be cognizant while each activity unfolds, and it's really imperative for the rest of the cycle. So we ask the questions as teachers, professionals, early educators, whatever you want to call us in the field, that what is working, what is not working, what learning is taking place, and how do I know? Basically, during the observation time, you should be taking lots of notes of your observations. There are different ways of taking observation notes depending on what you're looking for in the behavior of the child. And then we'll discuss this a little bit more in detail in the next slide of different ways you can observe. So there's also adjusting and pretty much adapting or differentiating, modifying. There's a lot of words that you could use for that. But I think the book does say adjust, differentiating. So basically, each lesson can always expand growth. So as educators, we just need to reflect on how we can continue to meet the individual learning and development needs of the child, and then how can we adapt the lesson to ensure to accommodate diverse learners. And then lastly, what are the next steps we can bridge the lesson authentically into the child's home and community? We know that learning process does not end at school, and as educators, it's our job to inform the parents, guardians of these children what we are doing so we can share that information with the parents at home. This may help the child master the outcome when there is dual support, and it helps build the child's strengths so they can scaffold their learning. I know sometimes that parents are really busy and they forget to do things, but encouraging your parents as best as possible is what you should be doing to help support that dual effort. The last couple things, assessing and repeating. So assessing is to complete the planning cycle, you must reflect on the effectiveness. You pretty much ask yourself a couple questions. Were the learning outcomes met, and how do we know? And actually another one, what do the child know, what does the child know now, and what are the next steps in the child's development and learning goals? So you're asking these questions and making sure that, do we know that the child has met the outcome, and how do we know? You really want to measure that specifically for each child. And then the last thing is repeating. What could have you done to change the lesson so it could have been more effective? Maybe you tried to do your lesson during circle time and the children were misbehaving, so it didn't go as planned. You know, there's different things that might have happened. Maybe you didn't have the materials prepared right away. So behaviors happen, because you know that will never happen in the preschool world. Yeah, catch my sarcasm, by the way. So you know, there could be a lot of different things that you might want to reflect on when you gather the information, and maybe you didn't gather enough information about the child's interests in home life. So, I mean, there's a lot of variables to what has worked and what has not worked. So you really want to make sure to have time to have that reflection, so you could use the planning cycle as an ongoing process. So yeah, and lastly, if you are viewing the video, please answer the questions below. Do you currently use the planning cycle as an ongoing process? And how do you think that will affect your teaching practices? I could tell you right now that when I was teaching preschool in my early years, I had no idea I was doing the planning cycle, but as time and more education with learning of how to do it and just getting into the rhythm of making sure that you have these different things during the planning cycle, like identifying, planning, implementing, observing, adjusting, and assessing and repeating. You sometimes realize that you're doing it, but you don't realize that you're actually doing it. So I knew after a while I was actually doing it, but one of the last things that I forgot to do a lot was repeating it. You know, and we're all vulnerable. We're as teachers, and we always should have that reflection time. Sometimes we just want to jump into the next thing. And the last thing is, how do you think it will affect your teaching, and how do you think that it will affect your teaching practices? What's your thoughts, Katrina? I've been talking a lot, sorry.
No, it's good because I'm definitely listening and learning. But like you said, how you were doing it but didn't know, that's how I am. Because my schedule is a little different. In the morning, I'm with the preschoolers, and I'm more of an assistant. I don't have the credentials yet. So it's like the teacher, I'm following everything she's doing, but sometimes I take the lead. After school, I'm the after school teacher. I have the credentials for that. So when I'm with the pre-K class, it's a lot of the planning cycle, but I never knew it was called planning cycle, and I don't think I was actually doing these orders. But I definitely was doing, you know, identifying plan. Sometimes I even make a lesson plan for them. But like you said, the repeating part, that is my biggest thing. I'm not consistent. I need to learn how to be consistent. I'm working on that, but, you know, it's step by step. I just wish I can do it every day, you know, all day. But it's different because I'm going from pre-K to after school class. And it's not so bad because my after school class is kindergarten, first and second. So it's like, you know, it's a big difference, but I can still follow these steps in my planning cycle. As far as how it's going to affect my teaching practices, my goal is to have my own pre-K class one day. So I definitely think by me, you know, going through these steps and doing them in order, it's going to help me become a great pre-K teacher one day.
Well, awesome. Thank you for sharing, Katrina. And I'm glad that you know you're some a lot of it being a teacher is just being vulnerable, and sometimes things don't work, and we try to get better at it. And it's hard to reflect as a teacher when you go from one activity to another activity to another activity, and sometimes you just can't process all that right away.
Definitely. Mhm.
So yeah, thanks for sharing. And I'm going to continue on just because we have
Okay.
lots and lots and lots of material.
Okay, no
um,
problem.
so I did talk to you a little bit about observing, and I wanted to touch a little bit more in depth of it, of how you can observe. So there are a lot of different ways you could use recording observations, and I wanted to go through each of them just a little bit so you guys understand the difference with each of them. So basically, I'm going to go with the first one. Running record forms and anecdotal forms are basically the first two on the slide. They're the ones that you'll probably be using the most of for observations, but there are slightly a little bit different, which I'm going to go into. Running records are basically a detailed narrative account of behaviors or events written sequentially as an incident occurs. So basically, it's a play-by-play of the behavior and events as it's happening. The difference with anecdotal records, it's not a play-by-play. It's more of a short story that educators use to record significant events that they have observed. Basically, it can be written down after the behavior has taken place. So it's not a play-by-play action. It's basically a little short summary of the behavior after it happened. The next couple things are checklists. So we got checklists. They're basically more of a formal form of assessment that allows educators to notate the presence or absence of something, some criteria with no details of the events. So basically, you might have a developmental checklist. Can little Johnny do one-on-one correspondence? Yes or no? It could be it could be even a different record as, I don't know if you guys use Teaching Strategies Gold. So it goes through different domains to make sure that the children are meeting different developmental needs at the specific ages and stages of how old they are. So there's different checklists to that extent, and then there's also just normal checklists of the presence or absence of some criteria with no detail. So example, like if you have a 30-minute child count because you transition to outside to inside to playtime, and just making a little X by it, that's pretty much what a checklist is with really not much detail. Comparing to a developmental checklist where it's a little bit more specific and has a little bit more detail. Then you have the rating scale. I don't know, every state's kind of different. Here we have the Colorado Shines. Basically, a rating scale is a checklist that has been modified to include like various levels of quality of a program. So, like I said, in Colorado Shines is our rating scale, and it basically it's a rating scale that demonstrates the quality of a early learning program or center. Sometimes the higher the rating, the more money companies can charge to enroll their child into a particular program. Since I work for a Head Start, we're a nonprofit. We don't have that because it's based on family income and different criteria. So basically, we don't charge anything. Everything is free through, and it's federally funded. But there are programs, for-profit programs, that can charge a higher rating because they have their program might have a really good quality of learning with, it usually has teachers who have a lot of training, specific degrees, good licensing outcomes, stuff to that extent. And then the last two basically focuses on behaviors, more behaviors. So you got time sampling and event sampling, same kind of, but different. So time sampling focuses on behaviors to see how often they occur. Observers has usually a set time they observe the behavior and can check how often the behavior occurs during that time frame. In event sampling, it's usually a series of short observations to confirm that the child's behavior pattern is to confirm that the child's behavior pattern in order to provide suitable strategies to manage the child's behavior effectively. So basically it confirms that the behavior is happening at different times throughout the day, not just at one specific time. So that's the difference between time and event sampling. So with all that information, which of the observational approaches and documentation methods do you think will be most useful to you, and why? Maybe you probably already are using them in your classrooms already. If you are viewing this recording, please share that question as well. What do you guys use, Katrina?
We actually use the checklist and the event sampling. I like the event sampling only because there's been plenty of times where it's been a child we were unsure about what was going on, but like you said, you check it not at the time, but the event, different events, and it made sense, to like, for instance, okay, like the regular normal checklist, you just do that. You just do it. How we do our checklist, people, they come in, we observe them, and then we'll even do it throughout the day. But the event one, we go back to the event that is happening and occurring, so we can actually see what's going on, when it's going on, what's going on. I just think it's, it's easier for me to even think.
Yeah, and you could come up with more strategies too.
Yeah.
To manage the child's behavior, which is great. Yeah, that's awesome. Do you ever use any developmental checklists?
No, I don't. And actually, this is my first time hearing about the rating scale and the developmental checklist. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it's different. Different states with rating scales have different things that they use to measure the quality of their program. And out of 5 stars, we have a 4-star rating, which is pretty high, but it's not the top of the top, where there are some centers that are really, really on top, and they have that kind of prideful of being great. I mean, I'm not saying our center is not great, but there's always room for improvement in each center that we are.
Yep, that's really close to 5.
Yep. So yeah. I'm going to continue. Do you have anything else to add?
No, I'm definitely learning because, like I said, there's a few of these that I didn't hear about until today.
Well, good. Makes me happy to hear that. Thanks for sharing, Katrina.
Okay.
So the last couple things I want to talk about before we end our live session for tonight is writing a learning objective using SMART goals. So in one of this week's assignments, you are to come up with a comprehensive lesson plan where all learning objectives must be stated as SMART goals. So what does that mean? Basically, SMART goal objectives, and how do we include that in our comprehensive assignment? So what I want to do is I want to review the characteristics of the SMART goal objectives, and then I will put them into a comprehensive lesson plan, and put them into life and kind of show you step by step of what I am looking for in this assignment. So when you're writing your learning objective, like I said, you want SMART goals. So very S in SMART goal, you want it to be specific. So basically, it's goals that meet the needs of the children while you're upholding the program and early learning standards. Questions you might want to ask yourself: do you know exactly what you want to accomplish with all the details? And the goals must be well defined. So yeah, you just want to make sure you're really specific of what the goal is that you want to accomplish. It doesn't need to be very complex. Very simple is usually the best. The next thing is, how will the goal be met? Will you use formal assessment with the children, and what will that look like? Basically, how will you measure if the child is progressing through the activity? A lot of times, you just need to go back to your observational notes and take a look to see if the child is meeting what you set out to accomplish. The next thing is it attainable? You want to consider developmentally appropriate practices, DAP. The individual child and typical development, and is your goal a challenge but still possible to achieve? So basically, you want it to be somewhat of a challenge, but you also want it to be possible for the child to achieve. So basically, you might have an infant, and the last thing you want them to probably do is try to tie their shoe. Obviously, that is not developmentally appropriate practice because they have not had those fine motor skills and their brain has not been developed enough. So you just really want to make sure that you are considering DAP for that. And the next thing is being realistic. So it kind of goes hand in hand. Want to make sure that you're also considering developmentally appropriate practices. And this basically is the individual child and typical development. So, looking back at the benchmarks of your state early learning standards, for Head Start, we use the Head Start early learning outcome framework for children in different ages. Basically, you want to make sure that your goal is realistic and within the child's reach. So it's a little bit different than attainable. It has to be realistic. Is it going to follow the benchmarks of your state's early learning standards or not? The last thing is it timely? When will this goal be reached? You should consider a timeline. I know when I have been doing SMART goals, sometimes I always forget that T timeliness mark. I sometimes forget that I need to accomplish this within a week or a month or a semester. When do you want your child to accomplish this? That you have set out, it might be different. And now, having said that, I'm going to promised you I was going to show you an example of a comprehensive lesson plan. So this is a comprehensive lesson plan I did of my daughter. When you're filling this out, remember to use just initials. Nobody needs to know the first and last name. For purposes that I can disclose, I will use my daughter's name, Annika, because that is her name, and I'm comfortable sharing that. Basically, I just want to talk about the comprehensive lesson plan using her objectives with SMART goals and how they apply with each domain. So basically, you have your lesson objective goals on the left. This is basically, you want to begin with a verb. Uses, feeds, identifies, seeks, engages, demonstrates. What do you want them to do? If you take a look at it, you see that it's very specific on each of mine. So, for example, very specific. Uses hand-eye coordination when participating in a routine, such as carrying food, eating with silverware, drinking out of a cup, pouring liquid into a cup, and eating with the fingers. Now, the domain of the activity. This is how will the activity promote learning in the domain. So basically, for that, this is what I'm going to do for the lesson. So basically, I'm going to provide opportunities to have Annika use forks, spoons, eat with fingers, smelling and touching different foods, pouring water into a cup, drinking water from a cup, carrying food, and passing food will help strengthen her motor skills and hand-eye coordination. If you take a look at that, you see all the opportunities and all the things that I'm doing to support her objectives. So basically, like I said, I'm using all these things. This is my activity of how I'm going to use the activity in the domain, and this is what specifically that I want my child or the child that you're lesson planning to do. The next thing is identifies different food in correlations to shape, colors, and quantity during mealtime. Basically, during mealtime, I'm identifying different foods by their shape and colors. Example, an apple is a red circle. An orange is a circle that is orange. You know, simple things like that. Making sure that there's different food items that have different shapes and different shape attributes. So the next thing is seeks information meaning of words by asking questions in words such as signs, such as what's that, who's that, why, or what has happened at mealtime. Basically, in this one, we're trying to implement a language. Sometimes you don't have children who can speak, usually at the stage they can, but you might want to use visuals or on a daily schedule board of the child eating at the table and reading specific books regarding mealtime and asking those questions to scaffold the child's learning. Oftentimes I see a lot of in my program, we're getting better, but a lot of child care centers, I see a lot of non-questions and not much conversation during mealtime. I think this is a very valuable place for children to learn and get that vocabulary by learning their shape attributes and different things around them, using colors and different things, shapes, different colors, and how it associates. The next thing is engages in positive interactions such as thank you, please, excuse me, more, no thank you, in a wide variety of situations with familiar adults. Basically using positive manners such as please, thank you, and this will be modeled by the adults so that Annika will know that it's the appropriate ways of communicating. A lot of times as teachers, we got to make sure that we model for our children. A lot of children don't know what's appropriate and what is inappropriate. We assume that they do, but they actually don't. Their brain is not developed enough to have that comprehension. So adults, we really need to make sure then teachers that we have appropriate ways of communicating that is positive. And that kind of fits in, like I said, into social and then emotional, basically demonstrating awareness of own thoughts, feelings, preferences, giving that trying new foods and how the food correlates with emotional, your emotions. I mean, you might have everybody has different taste buds, and it might be different for each child. So that is a little bit about the comprehensive lesson plan that you will be doing for this week. Make sure that your learning objectives over here are SMART. You want to make sure that they're specific and measurable, and obviously attainable and reachable and timely. So, and then you want to make sure you state what you're doing for your activity to promote that learning in that domain. So, having said that, do you have any questions that is presented in this lesson?
Will we have the same template, or do we have to create our own?
Yes, you'll have the template that you'll have to download.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and then you could just if you have a hard time trying to find it, let me know. But it's there for you. I pulled it off the internet myself from the class, and I did one for my daughter a year back. So yeah.
And yours just looks so perfect, and I'm over here like, oh, I'm nervous, but I'm definitely, I did a lesson plan, but it just wasn't like that. It was very brief, and I like the way you did it because you were giving examples of things that you were going to do to, get what you wanted to be done. And with the lesson plans that we do over here, they're not as in-depth as the one you had. And I kind of like this one that you have. And it's funny because I always give them examples of my homework, and they're just like, oh, my God, really? I'm like, yeah, really, but I think that's a good idea.
Well, the biggest thing, Katrina, is that if you get anything out of this, you want your lesson, you want to know who you're planning for, and you want it to be specific, and you want to make sure it's measured. A lot of times teachers don't have that in mind, that they have something in general that they want to do, but then they don't measure it, and then there's no really follow through it. So, I mean,
that is true.
Just having that in mind will get you in the right mindset when you're trying to lesson planning.
Yeah, and I've even seen kids where they made a lesson plan and didn't do anything that they were supposed to do in a lesson plan. Me, if I'm taking my time out making a lesson plan like the one you showed us, that's just going to make me want to even do it even more. Like, I took my time, I made it like this. That I really enjoyed watching that because it's so different from the ones that I've seen. And you just had a really great one. I've seen a lot of good ones, but no, nothing like that.
Well, thanks. And the basic thing what I want to do, you want to focus on one activity. My child was struggling with eating at the table and using all those things. So what I did is I just took it a live situation and I plugged that in, and I was like, well, this is what I'm going to do. This is how and I actually did it. And she's not perfect, but she's getting better, a year later.
Exactly. That's what matters. So we don't have to specifically do this with how I work at a daycare with one of the kids. Like my son, he's 5, and I think I'd rather do it on him. Is that okay?
That's a good question.
Okay.
Well, you got to make sure to, whoever you're observing, I don't know which child, but you're going to be using that throughout, I believe, each lesson.
Exactly. That's why I'm glad I asked you in the beginning, because I work the sites, and I put it on my site. So I think I should just stick with the sites because my son doesn't go
Yeah.
there. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it might be easier. I just did it because I don't teach little children. I'm the boss of big children. I'm a
Exactly.
supervisor,
I
so
get
I'm kind
that.
of like a principal. So it's a little bit different in my realm, but that's why I was just like, well, I
Yeah,
use
but I
this.
have plenty of options. So yeah.
Yeah, just make sure it's consistent. That's the biggest thing.
Exactly. Okay.
Do you have any other questions?
No, that's it. That was just my biggest concern because even though I live with the 5-year-old, he's my child. But like you said, the work site and everything, I work with kids, so I will just stick with that. But that was all I wanted, the difference
Oh,
between my child and someone I work with.
it'd be nice. I mean, if you want to use it, just not for this class.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I
Definitely.
mean, think positive, and if you run into any trouble, let me know. I'm here to help. I have taught this class quite a few times now, so
Okay.
I know what I'm looking for, and yeah, just let me know if you need anything. I'm here to help. So yeah, hopefully you gained something out of it.
Definitely I did. I'm going to go ahead and complete my discussion for tonight.
All right. Well, you have a great night, Katrina. And if you're viewing this online, I will post. I will have it even for you, Katrina, uh, for for you to view later. So,
Okay, thank you.
yep. Have a good night.
You too, bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.